Fantastic. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Real quick, before we even get started, I would like to take the opportunity, if you could, if you're watching there this evening, give us a like and a subscribe real quick. It helps spread the word of the Unite DeFi movement and these amazing roundtables that we're putting on. My name is Chris, known as Meta Captain within my community. I'm the founder of MetaBUSDCoin, and I'm joined here with many industry titans. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody give a quick introduction, starting with REMATIC.
Hey, thanks for having us and our community on. Really appreciate it. My name is Mike, CEO for RMTX, and as you all may know, we have a cryptocurrency token, and we are creating a voter platform as well as doing all sorts of fun and interesting things within the crypto space. So we'll leave it at that for now.
Awesome. Atlas?
Hello, everyone. My name is Crypto Atlas. I'm a YouTuber that covers a variety of cryptocurrencies, and I'm happy to be a part of this panel today and hear from a lot of very intelligent individuals in their own projects and learning more and be able to share that with my community. And, this is an ad video from my perspective. I just want to make that publicly known for everyone. But thank you very much for having me here.
Absolutely. How about EverReflect?
What up, everyone? I'm EJ, team lead for the EverReflect family. We are a utility token as well, reflection in BUSD. And currently in the process, we're getting into the entertainment space. That's been my 21-year career. So we're doing NFT tickets, and project's going well. And appreciate you having us here. As always, it's always a pleasure, and very excited to chat with some of these new faces because I talk with Chris way too
much. All right. How about Nobility?
Yeah, thank you, Meta, for having us on here. But I'm Kyle, the founder and CEO of Nobility. We're an esports token. It's backed by my esports organization, Noble. I have a partner who is one of the owners of FaZe Clan, as well as one of the biggest esports organizations in the world. So we're heading that, obviously getting in the esports sector on the crypto stuff as well, and integrating that within esports. The biggest thing we have going on right now is our sports book that's going to be focused on the esports and other sports as well, but focusing mostly on esports. So that's our big thing that we're working on right now. But yeah, so thank you for having us on here.
Interesting. We're definitely going to have to hear more about that in just a moment. How about Generation Crypto?
Perfect. So I am, like Atlas, I am a content creator with the name Generation Crypto. You can check out my YouTube channel. I'm also on TikTok and on Twitter, and I just make content revolving around cryptocurrency. I'm mostly focusing on the intricacies behind the project. So what makes them work, what are their functions and utilities, and what is the real world use cases for cryptocurrencies. So I cover that kind of stuff on my channel.
Oh, very cool. That's going to be hard for me to just get past the fact that you're a TikTok creator.
Yes, unfortunately, right?
All right, how DFS MAFIA? We'll let El Jefe start us off.
Sure. Hey guys, Chris, Chief Operating Officer at DFS MAFIA. Been on board with Dan since inception on day 2. And we've just been, I brought the whole, me and Dan put together an entire business plan and just put the whole business aspect to the crypto side of our daily fantasy sports, which I will let Dan go ahead and talk more about when he does his introduction. Glad to be here. Thank you guys for the space and the time.
Awesome. Dan, how about you, man?
Hey, thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it, and excited to do this. Everybody gets to learn more about everybody's projects, so thank you for that. I'm the CEO and founder of DFS MAFIA, and basically I came up with the idea to merge 2 major sectors into one that I have a huge passion in. I've been in the crypto for 5 years and played fantasy sports for about 10. Did pretty well for myself on both ends of the spectrum. So came with this idea to really launch the first full-scale, fantasy sports platform with crypto integration, and our token is going to be the native token of the ecosystem, and really the platforms that have, everything's going to be kind of revolved around creating extensive burns where we really burn down the supply of the token, increasing the value, along with just getting that crypto experience while playing fantasy sports, or having the swap, the staking, the sports themed NFT marketplace. It's all going to be integrated into our site. So just kind of having that FanDuel, DraftKings type of idea, but integrating crypto and really bringing more legitimacy to the space. So that's what we're doing.
Very, very interesting. Awesome. Real quick, who did I guess we lost Atlas. All right. Okay, guys. So a couple new faces on here this evening. It's interesting to me, just off top, that two of you guys are involved directly in sports sector. Whether or not that's fantasy sports or esports, that seems to kind of share a little bit of the just the space in general. I'm curious to know whether or not you two, I'm not super familiar with y'all's interactions. I know I've seen a lot of DFS and Nobility in the same spaces. Are you guys already working on any type of cooperation there?
Not yet. We actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say not yet, but we've been. Our community members are always tagging us and stuff. And you guys got to talk. You got to have a phone call, whatever. And so we've been talking in our DMs the past day or so, trying to get something scheduled. But esports and sports are a little bit different. But with the sports betting platform that we have coming out, I think we're going to be able to potentially do some kind of collaboration with Dan and what DFS Mafia is doing with their daily sports. So it's something we want to discuss for sure.
Yeah, real quick, just to piggyback off his answer real quick, you say sports betting. Are you talking about Nobility doing esports betting or doing like actual real life sports betting?
Yeah, so it's going to be like a real life sports betting platform. It's going to focus on esports. That's going to be like the main focus of it, just so we can tie it back to Nobility being an esports backed token. But we're going to also have the traditional sports as well, so the basketball, football, baseball, MMA, golf, and the casino as well. But we're going to offer incentives for people to use Nobility and bet on esports. But there will be those other options too.
That's very cool. And Dan, just piggyback off his answer there, I don't know a whole lot about fantasy sports, but as like just a regular everyday guy that doesn't follow sports at all, what I do know about it is it's been kind of marketed to me, at least, as a type of sports betting. Is that what fantasy sports is?
Not really. So that's one of the things that's great about the fact of what Kyle and Nobility is doing and difference as ours is that there's obviously the similarities because of sports or esports, but and like you said, esports a little bit different than sports in general, but their sports betting platform will be in the same realm. But no, I mean, sports, fantasy sports is more of taking just cumulative data from, you're basically picking, players based on their real life performance. So where sports betting, you're just basically saying, okay, I think this team's going to win, or this team's going to win, or they're going to cover the spread. Whereas with fantasy sports, it's more of all right, I think this guy's going to have an awesome night tonight. I'm going to build a roster based on who I think is going to be the best, on a given night. I actually got a bunch of contests launching tonight as well. So no, fantasy sports is more of just picking your players and who's going to have the best nights and just knowing the players on their stats side of things, whereas sports betting is more of picking an outcome.
Yeah. And to go off that a little bit, people always ask us too, since we're doing the sports betting platform, if we're going to be doing the daily sports as well, because daily sports is huge. DraftKings, it's huge. There's another competitor as well. But that's like its own separate animal. So the sports book is like one completely different thing than what Dan DFS Mafia is doing with their daily sports. So they're two different animals for sure.
Well, that's very cool.
So you guys will have a sports book, like actual.
Yeah. So we actually got news today that our company was established in Curacao, and so we can use that information now to get the license from Curacao. So that's going to give us some jurisdiction coverage. But
that literally just made my night. Like I waste too much on FanDuel, so that's
it's been like a dream of mine for so many years. So it's kind of cool to finally do it.
I like what I'm doing, but like I'm kind of jelly.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you guys, how much sports betting you guys do, but one of the people that we brought on as an advisor worked alongside rivalry.com. So they also, they focus a little bit on esports, but they also do the traditional sports as well. They just went public recently too. And the advisor that we brought on, he didn't help with operations stuff. He helped them bring in capital and help them get licenses and stuff. But the licenses are huge, and it's a huge game when it comes to that and getting those. So having them on board, we're definitely blessed to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it took forever to get here in Michigan for sportsbooks. So congrats. That's massive.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, so question for both of you guys real quick. Sorry. So on y'all's platforms, are you using your respective native tokens to immediately interact with that reward system, whether it be betting or whether it not be it picking your advantage plays through your daily whatever? I'm sorry, I wish I knew more about fantasy sports, but like, are you actually using the DFS token as like collateral to win something on through the fantasy? Okay, and is that live now?
No, so we actually, which we're going to drop the news tonight, we had been under development with we have this massive development company that's built over 20,000 apps and websites, both in crypto and in fantasy sports. And we did a partnership with them, and we actually just got our guaranteed timeline, which is something that's unique to them, where they actually guarantee the timeline of development and get it live. And they will essentially assign more developers on their cost if they're behind schedule for any reason. So today we got that timeline, and we're looking at, actually, we're going to be live on our beta for our VIP club to be able to test the beta site in about 10 to 12 weeks, and then a full launch shortly after, and long before football, basketball, and hockey season starts.
Okay, so is that brand new news to the world right now?
Yeah, we've been hinting at, like, our roadmap had Q3 on there. I mean, obviously our goal was to make sure we were done by September, so that, obviously getting out there for American football and basketball and hockey, we're going to be big for, our site. But yeah, we just got the news today that we're looking at 10 to 12 weeks to have the beta, and then shortly after that, as long as everything's still working great, we'll have the full launch, weeks to months ahead of schedule. So, and then
awesome.
Our DFSM token will be the native token. So the way we're going to have it set up is to appease both to, there's a lot of fantasy sports players that aren't into crypto, that this will kind of push them over the edge and get them kind of acclimated into crypto. But we don't want to just appease the people who are crypto, enthusiasts. So we're going to have contests with our token, and then we're going to have contests with just normal fiat, and then use the fiat to do buyback and burns and burn down the tokens.
Okay, very, very nice. So bringing it back into like rewarding your hodlers.
Cool. Which I'll kind of just, you brought that up. One of the other things that we're doing is anybody that holds 100 million tokens or more, currently, when we launch the platform, we're going to be doing up to 10% of the platform revenue to be redistributed to token holders. So kind of doubling up on that whole reflections idea, where you kind of get a piece of the pie from our platform. At the same time, you get the reflections from holding as well.
Very cool. All right, so I'm going to switch up the topic just a little bit. Something that just happened with REMATIC was they just did their V1 to V2 migration. I know Nobility is on here, and they've had a couple of different versions. I think Nobility might be on V3 now. Is that correct?
Oh, we're on V2. We did the first one in August, so a month after we launched.
Okay, but you are going to go to V3, right?
Yeah, we're going to, once our blockchain comes out later this year.
Gotcha. All right, so question for REMATIC, and then I'm going to have Kyle follow it up. What was the reason for you to move from a version 1 to a version 2, and what was your process like?
Yeah, so I can definitely start off with that. So when we initially created our contract, we simply went with a pre-constructed blueprint that was offered through Pink Cell. We wanted to get the idea out there, get everybody interested in sort of the concept of what we're trying to do, what our approach is. So that was the original contract that was created essentially for us. We didn't have any control in terms of what the functionality was, how it was designed, how it operates, and how it functions. We wanted something that works so we can get our message out, so we can build a strong base and a strong community. The purpose for V2 was to implement a couple of things that we've committed to since day one. That was establishing a buyback and burn, and two, to make sure that our automations are actually automated, meaning the reflections. We were having issues in terms of how much gas was being consumed in regards to providing a reflection token that is a reflection token. So it gets things a little complicated, some gas issues there. So we moved away. We had to go to a V2. It was always part of the plan to do that. And for Kyle and Nobility, if they're going to a V3, I mean, obviously it makes sense with the blockchain, but yeah, if we have to go to a V3, it's not going to be happy times. That's all I can say about that. Before Kyle chimes in, I mean, I don't know if James had any comments or anything you wanted to say, but I know our community has been very supportive of us, very trusting. I mean, we were down for what, 12, 14 hours in terms of actual no trading whatsoever. We didn't skip a beat. When it came back on and live at like around 3:30 in the morning Eastern time, we just kept cruising along like it never happened. So can't give enough credit to not just the team that helped us implement it, but also the core team that we have, the team members that we have, the mods that we have, everybody was sort of working together and keeping everybody informed, up to date as to what's going on while it was going on in real time. It was as smooth as it possibly can. Still some things we got to work out, some kinks that we need to smooth over, and we'll be doing that over the coming days. But we're up, we're running, and things are going, and we're on 3 chains.
Sorry for not knowing about your project, but how many holders do you guys have?
I believe when we did the V1 migration, we were around 5,800, somewhere in that range, a little over 5,000. Yeah, so somewhere in that range.
That's a lot of holders to do a migration. We did ours with like 1,000, so it was pretty easy.
Yeah, so I actually, because of what I had seen in the market, whenever I wrote the last contract that I wrote, I wrote it specifically to allow migration. And like if you know that it may or may not come in the future, you can prepare a contract to make it pretty painless as far as the actual migration goes. I'm sure you guys are all aware. Other than like the liquidity pool portion, it can be done very easily.
Yeah, and there's just one last little piece that I'll add to that is that the contract itself wasn't difficult to get created and have ready. That was ready a couple of weeks before we actually wanted to go live with our migration. It was the transfer application that was struggling with the different gas estimations and things of that nature. We actually reached out and got a little bit of help. We used as if anybody on here is watching knows, all of our holders are aware. We actually used and leveraged EverMigrate. The EverRise tokens product. It's a fantastic product, very easy to use. And so without them helping get that sort of implemented, obviously, to talk to our existing V1 and V2 contracts, they were very helpful and made it a little bit easier to sort of take us over the finish line to help with that migration. So big shout out to them and their team and their community. So really, really, really appreciative of what they did and the service they provided us.
Big shout out to EverRise. Interesting. All right, guys. Again, I'm going to switch things up just a little bit. I always like to kind of turn to our influencers and get their opinion on a few things. All of us being so dug down in our own projects, I think we've all had the experience where we kind of just don't even look up to the outside world whatsoever. And these guys spend their entire time referencing that outside world and that community. So they kind of have a different perspective than we do on a lot of the stuff that we're even here talking about right now. So Generation Crypto, so far what you've heard talked about this evening, we haven't been talking long, it's about 20 minutes. Is there anything that any of these projects have been talking about that is in particular exciting to you? And what are the ramifications that you see from that project's utility?
Yeah, so I'm always excited to be about hearing real world utility outside of NFTs. I think that for the larger market, a lot of people are overplayed with NFTs in a lot of ways. When people talk about, our project's going to do an NFT marketplace, it's like every project does an NFT marketplace. What are you bringing that's new? And so hearing stuff like sports betting, things that people can actually see used with their tokens outside of just buying, trading, and buying NFTs, I think is a huge asset to a project, because it shows that they're differentiating from what everyone else is doing in the DeFi space. And it gives people visible things that they can see themselves doing with the tokens that they're purchasing. So I think it's always cool to see that. Obviously, with regulations changing, that's like the big hiccup when it comes to things like gambling or betting, is making sure you're within regulations. Especially as today, the Biden administration announced that there's going to be more regulation in cryptocurrency. So my only kind of thing I would say to developers is making sure that you guys don't shoot yourselves in the foot with regulations that come down the pike. Maybe they're going to have to institute KYC for gambling sites. I know there's been a big issue with that with larger platforms that involve Bitcoin and other crypto platforms. There's been a lot of complaints with people not being able to essentially self-select to not participate. Like you can in a normal casino. You can walk into a normal casino. You can say, I self-select to not participate in gambling because I have a gambling addiction. And with DeFi, you can't do that. So that's been a big complaint with the larger platforms. And so not saying that that's going to continue to be an issue or that's even the problem of developers, but it is a complaint that's being held by the larger community. So I would say that's like the big thing, is making sure that regulations are something that you're aware of. That way you don't shoot yourself in the foot by accidentally creating a project that puts people in legal troubles.
So I've actually never heard that part that you gave, and that's very interesting. So just if you could real quick, not to sidetrack this too much, can you just elaborate on that just a little bit? Like, so you say if you walk into a casino, you have the ability to say, like, no, I don't want to participate. But if you are in DeFi, you're automatically participating?
Yeah, so if you can go into a casino, and there's different websites and services through the government and through specific casinos there you can basically say, like, I'm self-selecting to not be allowed to gamble anymore because I have a gambling addiction. It's part of the recovery process for a lot of people that they get self-selected with these services. So if they try to go to a casino, 6 months later because they want to have a relapse and they go in to buy chips, they're going to be like, sorry, we can't sell chips to you. You self-selected to self-selected not to gamble. And so that's something that's been instituted by casinos to kind of prevent gambling addiction. With DeFi, inherently, because it's decentralized, you can't do that, right? Because you don't know who owns which wallets at what point in time. Because I can just go make a new wallet and then attach it into the dApp, and all of a sudden I'm gambling or betting and doing whatever I want to do. So that's why I said it's just something that's been noticed by larger content creators. It's something that's been talked about by specific individuals in different communities about larger platforms having that issue of gambling addicts using DeFi as an outsource to kind of walk around the idea of not being able to use traditional gambling methods through fiat. Not saying that that's even the problem with developers. It's just a kind of a social issue that's being talked about openly with DeFi.
Yeah, a problem in the space in general. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
There are things that happen that we can all point to that we all know could be an issue. Like, I think every single project that's on here reflects a token. So we already know that in general has had some regulatory looks. Whether or not that it's going to happen or whether or not it's bad right now or will ever be, we don't know. But it has had some looks. So we can at least acknowledge that, yes, there obviously, if you know about it, I might not, but there's obviously some people talking about it. So that's very interesting. To repeat the original question to Atlas, so far, what you've heard everybody talking about right now, is there anything that has kind of sparked your interest?
I'm having a little bit of some internet connection issues, to be honest with you guys. So it's been breaking up on my end just a tad bit here. Let me go ahead and circle back as you guys continue to have your conversations. I'll go ahead and raise my hand if you don't mind, because there will be something that'll pop out at me at that point, and then I would absolutely love to kind of touch on that.
Absolutely. So I did want to take the opportunity to touch base on what EJ at EverReflect has got going on. Last week during the roundtable, this is facts to everybody who's listening in the communities. Two of the projects that had met on the roundtable last week had never met one another, and they immediately left the roundtable, started working together, and are producing products together now as we speak. So I wanted to point out real quick that EJ at EverReflect, what his project's main focus is creating NFT tickets right now primarily for the music industry, because that's currently what his career has been for the last 22 years. He can explain it better than I can. EJ, take it over.
Yeah. So yeah, 21 years of working in festival, event entertainment, event promotions, live entertainment as far as music, but then also a number of, currently I'm the marketing director for Michigan Festivals and Event Association. So we represent about 500 festivals, 300 destination locations, a puppy. Sorry for that. He's actually got his manly parts taken away today, so I'm keeping a close eye on him. Our whole concept has just been a fusion of my two passions. I mean, there's no part of the crypto space that I haven't enjoyed as far as what other developers have come up with as far as our ideas. The struggle I had was, how do I connect that into the real world for what I do every day for a living? And working in music, working in entertainment, the concept of ticketing is something I utilize every single day. Brody, every single day with Eventbrite, with Ticketmaster, with Reg Fox. So that actually was the easiest transition from my perspective to be able to do both. Meeting a couple of people like yourself, Chris, and a few of the other people that have some knowledge and background in entertainment, it's just been a very simple, complex, I guess you can say, process, because the idea and the concept of just getting a ticketing platform out there is a novel idea because it's already been done. But to integrate it with a utility token, in our case with EverReflect, that still have the ability to be able to collect fiat and then pay out those event promoters or those venues with fiat, because that's the reason they're using the platform, to be able to integrate that with the concept of an NFT, because it does hold so much more value in the long term when it comes to security, when it comes to metadata, when it comes to the concepts of royalties and being able to pay back the original minter of those tokens or ticket sellers. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, that's really kind of the main premise of when we've been doing this from the beginning, is that I have the experience of entertainment where we have the connections, but like, I've stayed in that industry for so long because I love it. And ever since getting into crypto back in 2017, it's just been a progression. And actually, I was pumped to hear DFS and Nobility both tonight, because the only reason I'm here is because of Bovada back in 2017 and my best friend having me buy a little token called Bitcoin, and then having to turn that into basically sports betting, or in the case of Bovada was a lot of Texas Hold'em. And it's just funny how that progression goes, because it's an easy conduit, I think, to get into the crypto space. The sports bettor's mind kind of works like a lot of crypto people's minds work, but a lot of people also love the concept of being in the entertainment space, which the merger of music, live entertainment, destination travel. You brought up the fact that we have 3 partners right now that are in the music industry already, but then one of the other partners that we just signed on is the Gilmore Car Museum. And that's just the largest classic car venue in the nation, but it's located here in Michigan. So the idea of live experiences expands out well beyond this chat room and well beyond everybody in crypto, because we're always having destinations, we're always having experiences that we want to go to. So from a logical standpoint, this made the most relevant sense for me and the rest of the people that are on our teams, because we're passionate about both. And that passion just carries over. I think if you guys have heard a lot of our team members or myself personally talk, or I know that Chris does because he deals with me for hours, like I said, like I'm passionate about both of these subjects, as you can tell with like these gentlemen are about their specific like utilities and their tokens. But that's what's key. And I think that's maybe the most relaxing and the most fun part about these UniteDefi sessions, is that you can sit back and you can just hear like the top dogs at every project not give like this shill or trying to sell me on an idea or sell on a project. They're literally talking about it because they're passionate about it. And I love it. Like between Dan and Kyle, like I'm already planning on hitting you guys up because we want to do an NCAA bracket for our community. So I'm like, all right, which one are we gonna? How can we utilize it? So I'm super inspired by even just listening to you guys.
I have other ways too, some other stuff that we're doing that I can definitely get you involved in as well. So we can talk after this for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of utilities, real quick, REMATIC, would you mind stepping in and just give us a nice rundown of the utilities that you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure. So I want to say something before we go into all the different utilities that we plan on doing. For us, we are a corporation that's funded through cryptocurrency. We're not a cryptocurrency trying to build a corporation, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is that there's going to be a lot more that we're doing than just our initial voter platform and voter application that we're coming out with. Obviously, we're building that as our first application, but at the same time, we've already signed our first client in terms of helping them get a project up and off the ground on their own. There's a utility, a business that they're trying to create, so we're going to be helping them from a professional services capacity. There's also some things that we're going to be doing in some different areas that we're going to be announcing in the next couple of weeks. So there's the focus of what we're doing is all about the utility. It's all about creating avenues and streams of revenue to benefit our token holders and the people that have the token. So that's what we're all about, and that's what we're trying to get accomplished. James, did you want to add anything to that?
I don't mind. Obviously there's different perspectives, like we're taking, like you said, corporation-wise. And by the way, hello everyone. I was a little late to the discussion. My name's James, and I'm obviously the Chief Operating Officer of REMATIC. But yeah, when it comes to the utility, like Mike was saying a little bit, we're going a bit further than your typical kind of what Generation Crypto was saying. He's not tired of it, but there's a lot of people saying, oh, there's like NFT utilities and such. But the way we are kind of approaching it is we're kind of breaking that little box or niche that is within a cryptocurrency. So people like they'll go into a cryptocurrency like ourselves, for example, and they'll think, what utilities can they provide? Is it like, staking, or is it like, NFTs down the line, or potentially like a wallet, for example? These typical use cases. Whereas if you go to the concept of what Mike was saying, where we're kind of like a corporation really with, entities like the professional services or, financial services, there's a lot we're going to be using on the outside, which is going to incorporate in together and then provide volume for obviously the inaugural token, which is REMATIC EGC at the moment. Well, not at the moment as it is. But like when it comes to like crypto and what we've already, addressed to the community, that there's obviously going to be the voting platform, which is going to be the major utility outside of crypto, which we provide in the volume and, initial, inputs of that profits put back into the crypto. And then for the actual token itself, or, going down the line of like, what staking is and stuff, there'll be these methodologies of staking, the crypto for reasons of, just holding it, and then even further going into the metaverse or Decentraland and, these virtual environments, which we can provide, our asset to be, stored, yielded, and then us go further to, give people the approach of, equity loans or mortgage loans and such within, the environment there.
Okay. All right. So quick little feedback from you guys real quick. I like to speak very plainly. That was confusing. If we could just break that down into like something real basic. So I guess you guys are focusing on providing DeFi services to other projects. Is that what it sounds like? Is that what I gathered?
Yeah. So I'll break it down very simply. We have our software as a service applications that we're building. The first one being a voter platform that's going to consume and use our token, RMTX. We have a REMATIC investment division where we're going to be investing in and helping other startup projects, whether that's in the crypto space or in the commercial space or in the real world. We're going to be helping organizations essentially provide them seed money. So as a VC, we're going to be providing a financial services platform that's outlined in our white paper that was issued back in November. So there's an aspect around financial services, some of what James was talking about with staking with yield farming, with collateral lending for metaverse properties and NFTs. Then we have the professional services division, where we are going to be providing coaching and guidance for other crypto projects, as well as development services. So there's those four aspects that we're initially starting off with, along with another that's going to be announced in a couple of weeks. So there's all these different avenues, these different streams of revenue that we're going to be generating that are all going to benefit the holders of RMTX.
Okay, very cool.
Chris, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
James, I believe you mentioned that your company is working with home mortgages. I heard you correctly on that, correct?
Well, home mortgages in the sense of, us providing equity for people to be purchasing them within, the decentralized metaverse.
So okay, so it will be focused DeFi and decentralized. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was also dealing with the real world applications or if it was just in the metaverse.
I mean, I think as it stands, I think it is just in the metaverse, providing mortgages, loans, equity and such for people to, put it towards whatever they need to within the decentralized land, whether it's like purchasing of lots of land or if it's like, the NFT collaterals, etc., or, items within it, what comes down the line.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. You guys, sorry, you mentioned 3 chains. What somebody else asked, what cross chains are you guys?
Yeah.
So right now we are on Polygon Network, and we are on Ethereum. So leveraging the EverBridge platform, we are able to go cross-chain with our token. This obviously didn't increase or impact our total overall supply, still 1 quadrillion, but the mechanisms and infrastructure that are in place through the EverBridge platform enable us to move our tokens cross-chain and are no longer pegged to just the BSC BNB price, but it also has a pegged value to Ethereum as well as a pegged value to Poly. So we do have the ability to move cross-chain with our token and participate in those different environments and those different blockchains with just 1 token RMTX.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. All righty. I'm going to circle back around to DFS Mafia real quick. All right. So, again, I am an example of somebody who does not follow sports. I have never done a fantasy sports game. I've played many fantasy games. I'm really good at fantasy games, but I've never played any type of sports fantasy or anything like that. But what I do understand is that in theory, I can participate in your ecosystem with your token and still generate rewards for myself, not just passively through volume, but from some type of mechanism that is actually picking like my favorite teams or something, or is it individual players?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So what it's going to be is it's going to be players. So the simplified, for those who haven't played fantasy sports before, is you essentially have a bunch of different options. Like, there's full-on tournaments where you pick players and you create like a team, or we also are going to be doing what's called prop betting, where it's basically not prop bets, but they're essentially you have an option or like 20 options, and it's going to be, I'll use basketball for example, James Harden over under 30 points tonight, and maybe over 30 points he'll be assigned a 95 points, where if he scores under 30 points it's 105 points. So you kind of are picking and choosing different options of what you think you're most confident in, and they have a point system aligned to them. And it's a large tournament where you're competing against other people. You try to get as many picks correct as possible with their point system, collaborated with it. And whoever has the most points wins the prize pool. Like, there'll be a prize breakdown. Like, if you go on like FanDuel, they'll have a $100,000 contest where first place gets 15,000, second place gets 8,000, third place gets 5, so on and so forth. So what it is you're basically just competing against other people to test your knowledge of what you think is going to happen on that given night with live athletes and what they put up as their stats. Our tokens can be used for contest entries and winning. So take dollar signs out of the equation. There's going to be contests where you can enter with your DFSM, and you can also win, and take out DFSM as well. And one of the cool ideas I came up with to also kind of give an option to make more money too. Me personally, like I've won a decent amount of money over the last week on FanDuel, and my money is just sitting there in between contests. So if I'm not in a contest, it just sits there collecting dust, so to speak. Well, why not have crypto doing that? But you can stake your crypto in the process or hold it for passive income. So you're making money on your money while it's sitting there instead of being stagnant. So just the whole idea of mixing crypto and fantasy sports into one was the idea. We actually, I don't know how many people know it, but we signed a deal with DFS Army, which is a large fantasy sports organization. They do like lineup optimizers and news articles and everything like that. And they've got over 20,000 subscribers. So we actually partner with them, and he's been influential in some of the information we've been putting out as well.
Cool.
I would add, thing I would add, and he's actually one of the first. He announced that he's going to accept our DFSM token. So before we're even utilizing the platform to its full capacity, DFS Army we're working with him on a way that he could accept DFSM for payment for his subscribers. So to add to that, not only does he have 20,000 subscribers and about 4,000 or 5,000 of them are paid subscribers, he's also willing to accept our token because he truly understands the value of where we're going. So, and he's been very instrumental, like Dan's alleviated too.
Yeah, so essentially just another utility for our token as well.
What's your tokenomics?
Right now we got a 15% tax, 10% is going towards liquidity. So we're just trying to make sure that we maintain a stable chart, and then 3% is being burned. And I'm sorry, we changed that just recently. It's 8% liquidity, 4% is reflections in native DFSM, and then 3% is being burned. And as our liquidity continues to rise, we'll continue to lower that liquidity tax down and actually go back to probably like 13% instead of 15%.
Yeah, that's legitimately the highest liquidity tax that I've ever heard of. And I've been doing this for a long time. But that's very interesting. What's your ratio at, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now what are we at? It's I think 7% right now. Our liquidity is about 7% of our market cap. I think we got about 250,000 liquidity, and market cap's just under 4.
I can understand then why you want to close that percentage.
Ideally we would like to be at 15% at minimum.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming once you get up to like 10 or 12%, you might implement some type of farming and then reduce and then scale back your tokenomics.
Exactly.
The tax. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was live and learn. I mean, I launched this token. This is my first project that I actually launched myself, and should have launched it with more liquidity right off the bat. That was my mistake, but you learn from things and you grow from it. And one of the ways to make sure that we build a stable foundation before we really skyrocket is making sure that liquidity is really built up. So we did a community vote, and the community said, let's do a higher LP. They saw the long-term vision, and then they all know that we actually been scaling it back now in the LP, and then we'll scale down the tax in total as well.
That's actually one of like the coolest things I've heard in a while. That's really cool that your community understood like the vision and the fact that you needed to do that in order to lower the volatility on the market. And the fact that you even have a community that's willing to go along with that is fantastic. And yeah, for sure. If you guys keep that up, everybody needs to keep their eyes on DFS Mafia. That's really cool.
Chris.
Again, I've never heard of a liquidity tax being that high. Atlas?
DFS Mafia, I got another question. So for you guys, are you doing things that are outside of traditional sports? Are you also doing, for example, NASCAR? Are you doing Formula One racing? Are you doing horse races, that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, we'll be getting into that. And we're doing the big ones, football, soccer, basketball, hockey, things like that. We're going to get into like rugby. We want to make sure we're appeasing to the entire world, not just, US-based investors. But our first version of the platform is going to come out with more of the the standard things, but then we want to get into NASCAR, Indy racing. We've got some close ties actually with some of our investors and partners in the Formula One, where we could actually bring in some pretty high profile Formula One drivers. So it'd be a pretty nice way to disclose that we're adding that to the platform with one of those partnerships too.
You want to know how you can really get people talking about your project?
What's
You
that?
got to start covering ping pong, man. Start doing some sports betting on ping pong.
Hey, I'm sorry right now, half our community's been talking smack to each other about playing ping pong. I'm actually super good at it. Not to shoot my own horse, so yeah, maybe we'll have to do something like that.
So we are a VR project, and our community is like, it goes ape over 11. If anybody else plays VR, 11's a ping pong game in VR. It's one of the funner games. Anyways, Nobility, I got a question for you, Kyle. All right, so again, somebody who doesn't know much about the sports world and even less about the betting world. I don't think I've ever even been to a casino, just to tell you guys the truth.
What? You've never bet on sports?
So he got really excited. I say he. EJ got really excited whenever you said sports. Whenever you said sports book, is that an official thing? Like, is that something that's I should know what that is? A sports book?
Yeah, it's pretty much like yeah, it's like the word people use for a platform you go to bet on sports. So yeah, it's called a sports book.
So, but is that like a legal entity of some sort? Like you said, you got your sports book. Is that did you not just start a web page that's now Nobility Sports Book?
Oh no. So the sports book is what the platform is called, but we got our company set up in Curacao that is going to be able to. So we use the information from that company to get our license from Curacao, which gives us the jurisdiction to offer gambling to certain places. So. And you get licenses for all different kinds of countries. In the United States, you have to get it for each state. So, but yeah, so we're working on getting those licenses. But the sports book is just the name of what the platform is. It's just another synonym for.
Yeah, somebody broke it down for me in the chat. They were like, "Sports book. It's just a ledger book for bookies."
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so if you go to like the MGM or whatever in Vegas, they have it's called the sports book, and it's just the place where you go to bet on sports. You can sit and watch the games and stuff like that. So it's just a term people use where you go to bet on sports.
Do you mind if I explain that?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, and this kind of is for both DFS and Nobility, because it seems like there's always been like the fantasy sports has seemed easier, like especially for like our state, where we've had FanDuel or DraftKings for a long time, and I could pick my 6 NFL players on Sunday, and fantasy football was all right, but it took so long to get sports books and be able to bet on like money lines and like the guy in the chat, like a 24 game parlay. Like there's a big difference, I would assume, right, between the two to be able to get both approved.
I don't know why there is a difference. I know it took a while for like New York. Dan and El Jefe down there probably know more than I do, but I know like I think there were some states that restricted it a little bit. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of them, unfortunately, that especially with sports betting, and that's why we really got into the fantasy sports side, because the U.S. government really carved out sports betting. Or fantasy sports is different from sports betting because it's more of a cumulative knowledge of data is the way they put it, whereas sports betting is just betting against an outcome. But yeah, New York, I think it was New York, New Jersey, I think even Pennsylvania for the longest time too. Just you couldn't bet on sports. It sucks, to put it in layman terms. I mean, they're tough on it because I don't even know. I can't even tell you why it took them so long to approve it. I mean, it was just an extra income source for them. But New York's tough on everything. I mean, you got to fight them on everything to get things approved.
The other thing I would point out too is when you talk about sports book versus fantasy sports, the law and the way they kind of look at it, one is a game of chance while another one is a game of skill. So they put the fantasy sports in the game of skill realm, and that's the single differentiator of sportsbook betting and then of course fantasy sports, which makes it one more easy. It doesn't require the legal parameters that Kyle is experiencing, and he's, you know, obviously once you have that, it's going to be extremely valuable all the states. But yeah, so that's one things. The biggest difference is game of skill versus game of chance. So
yeah, that definitely explains it. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys, is I guess the legal side of what you're doing and how it differs from, I guess, the sports book and stuff like that. So that does answer it. There is more skill in daily fantasy sports than, you know, the sports book, which is obviously pretty much a toss-up.
Yep, that's why it's immediately legal and, you know, available in 47 states, like right off the bat.
Yeah, but why weren't there states like you said, New York and some other ones that were kind of pushing back on the daily fantasy sports a little bit?
Yeah, Dan, but I think it was
New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm trying to think because they did them in waves. I know recently, like New York and New Jersey and everything went legal. I think they made a big thing about sportsbook coming out. But I still think there's still a bunch of states right now that still have it banned. I mean, the nice thing is what you guys are doing with doing, you know, an out of country, you know, company, which is the exact way I thought you guys were doing it. Because me personally, you know, I've been a big sports bettor in the past as well. I got more into fantasy sports over the last like 5 years. But I used to pay my mortgages just sports betting. I mean, it's an addicting thing to do. You know, you wager some money, try to make some extra money just by watching the sport. And hoping the outcome's right. But I used to use betus.com, and they were, you know, they're out of country entity, but it gives them the legal parameters to be able to have people in states like New York, which, you know, I'm in New York, and I was able to bet on sports without any kind of legal parameters. It's just
very interesting.
U.S.-based country or U.S.-based companies. It's a whole other ballgame.
That's
so like
what a great description, guys. Thank you. That's awesome.
What BUSD really does, it specializes in, and it's just like taking existing concepts and projects and onboarding them directly into the metaverse. And when I say that, I do mean directly into like a VR setting. So we build like lounge rooms and stuff. So we would build a lounge room for Nobility and their sports book, and maybe they would have like, you know, some Nobility nights hanging out in the background, a couple couches. And this is like a real VR space that you go and hang out in, and then you interact directly with the Nobility platform from that room. And you'd be able to do whatever they already do just in that room on their system and their service, just built off of our space. So like those are the kind of services that we provide. And I see both of these things. The fantasy sports, again, I don't personally understand it, but I know everybody is into it. And a lot of people make money on it. So I know it's big business. So I would love to onboard both of your guys' platforms directly into our space.
That'd be cool. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, and we would love to have you on our beta, check it out and be one to learn about it, so then that we become well as well.
I got a question for Mike real quick. Is it true? Multiple people have now said you stayed up all night doing your migration. Is that true?
I mean, 5:30 in the morning.
Oh man! Well, thank you so much for coming on.
All night. That's not
all night. I got about 3 hours of sleep. It wasn't all night. I got plenty of sleep.
That's hilarious. Thank you so much for coming on here, man.
Sorry. Before you want to carry on, it's fine. Could I ask?
No. Say whatever you want.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You were talking about the NFTs earlier, and you know you've been in the music industry and stuff. I don't know how much of the concept I understand, but how much have you taken it to the degree of like further enhancing, let's say, particular events or artists, for example? So a scenario I can give you is, let's say you bought your ticket for, I don't know, let's say like Post Malone, let's just say. And in this ticket, obviously it grants you the security and it gives like, you know, them the unsigned night. It's a valid ticket from the get-go. It's with this person's wallet, it's contracted, but are you thinking of further enhancing this to the degree that, like, you know, they have this ticket now And in this ticket, it kind of provides a service. So you could, potentially give them access to drinks at the venue, maybe guest tour with actual Post Malone, for example. Or have you further enhanced it where it could be a collection? Like, you have previous tickets down the line, you get, let's say, a free like private access or something like that. I don't know if you said this or if I'm like saying something out of the blue, but I was really, really curious to know if.
Well, here's the beauty of our project is it's so simple, and because everybody ends up using it all the time, you literally lead yourself to that conclusion. Because yes, obviously that's already been, and Chris and I talk about this all the time. Even his concept of the VR lounges, that 3 of the country artists that we have signed up are smaller. Carrie Holmes, the Family Tradition Band, and then John King. And part of the reason we're going like mid-level to small Nashville type artists is because of their fan base is a little more ardent, but at the same point they're easier to kind of get into the to the fold easily. And that's exactly what we're telling them, the future applications with the metadata, be able to send them things like that where they could get a drink or something at the event. But you could also send them album releases. You could send them specialized links so that they can end up getting early releases of information or songs. Or in Chris's case, a whole, John King is a good friend of mine, and he's a country artist that writes for Randy Houser. He can release a new song in his lounge, and then anybody that has that NFT ticket could then pop in for 15 minutes, hear John sing, chat for a couple minutes because he's a talker like I am, and play 1 or 2 of his new singles that maybe aren't released yet. So that's the beauty of this, is that literally, because we already have these experiences, and even if you're not in crypto space, you're going to go see Post Malone, or you're going to have to go see Post Malone because your wife or your girlfriend is going to tell you that you're going to go see Post Malone. So the application of real life blockchain integration is there because you want the event, you need the experience. But then what you just did is the beauty of our project, is that everybody in their head starts thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't know that much about, oh, wait, you can do this with an NFT. Oh, you can do this with an NFT after the fact. There's so much more creative. And that's why I've stayed in entertainment for so long and I was talking to Lunar from Nobility earlier today about this idea. I love the idea of being in entertainment because it's so many unique, creative individuals that are in this space. And the ideas that are going to spawn from that are outside, because now you're bringing creative types and not dumbing down crypto, but you're making crypto and blockchain something that's accessible to people that don't normally think in terms of smart contracts and, are you going to be able to verify this, or are you going to have to connect your wallet, or did this happen on BSC scan? The things that we discuss on an average daily basis, because it's just become our second nature, will really be at the forefront for them to be able to come up with their own creative ideas, of be able to use that ticket, which it's so simple. It's an NFT ticket. It looks the same, but obviously security is better for the event promoter. But yeah, I love that. You just proved everything that we've been trying to communicate to, especially our community and to the rest of the world, that that's the step where people are automatically led to it. Cause it's duh, what, we can do this with a ticket. So now let's go throw a festival with all of these tokens, and we'll get some artists to play, because that's what's going to end up happening. And this is going to take tokens to the point where, in Nobility, you guys have already done it. I wish I would have been out in Vegas, because I knew that you guys did that. I don't know how it was all formatted to be able to come together, but you're taking crypto and you're taking the blockchain and you're taking communities, and you're finally, and maybe you guys, other guys have as well, but you're bringing it to real world experience. We're not just meeting in a digital space anymore. I can shake your hand, I can buy you a drink, I can actually have dinner with you. That's the stuff that you can tell, because I've been in entertainment so long and live events for so long. That's what I'm passionate about, because I like to see people face to face. This is amazing that we can all connect in so many different places and in so many different time zones and be able to be in this digital space. But there's a true connection, and there's some true mental health that is it can't be emulated in a digital space. It has to be emulated, or it can only be experienced with real life experience. And I love that the merger of the two is going to be happening more and more.
Kyle, I have a question from a member of my live stream here. This is from Better Products Guide. They said, "Hi, Kyle. When will you be visiting the island?" And I was asking them what island, and they said Curacao or Curaçao. I don't know how to say it.
Curacao, yeah.
Curacao. Okay,
yeah,
I
I definitely want to go out there. I honestly don't know too much about it. I don't know. Is it a tropical island? I have no idea. No. Does anybody know?
Yeah. Tropical.
No, but yeah, I might go out there just to finish up the business stuff so that we can get our license. But yeah, if what's their name? Something product something wants to meet up. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Sorry, Better Products Guide.
Yeah, tell them to hit me up on Discord and we can coordinate something if we head out there.
That's hilarious. So real quick, I wanted to say something about EJ's product. He never ever mentions this, ever, somehow. What's really genius about the EverReflect NFT ticket system is that through rolling that out through the EverReflect app itself and allowing the immediate fiat onboarding from the app, even non-crypto participants that are interested in going to a show that he's already in charge of putting on, if those tickets are exclusively provided through the NFT system, then that means by default, all of those people wanting to attend that concert or attend that show are now going to be participating in the DeFi ecosystem without even knowing it. They don't have to know it. They're literally just going to onboard their fiat and swipe their card for their payment the same way they would for their Ticketmaster. And by doing so, you've now onboarded a holder, and that person is participating in the ecosystem. They've now become an NFT carrier. Whether or not they want to do a deeper dive and to figure out what else is possible is up to them. But you have at least facilitated that and done that in a unique way that, again, is not the same way that we all do it now, where we're all reaching out to each other's communities. We're trying to grab each other's holders because we're all already participating in the space.
Right. And I just to piggyback on that, like I've said it before, that there's been so much adversity as far as competition in the space. And I've said it before, I don't want anybody else's holders. That's not what our method, we're all semi decent sized. If you're 4,000 holders or above, congratulations. Like you've done something, but it's still so small. And even if you get to 100, or even if you get to say 1 million, like realistically in the global spectrum of things, that's still not that many individuals. And it could be one person having multiple wallets, right? What I think is so cool about what our plan is, and I said this to somebody earlier tonight, that we're going to literally just be like, when you talk about death by 1,000 cuts, well, we're going to be like adding liquidity to our liquidity pool with like 1 million little cuts, because we're going to be getting new holders that didn't even want to be crypto holders, kind of like what you said. They just wanted to attend an event. And then with a portion of every ticket tax going into it, sure, the world runs on $20 tickets, and $20 ticketing platforms suck. Like there's not a good one out there. Like it's okay if you want to go see Elton John at Dodger Stadium and you want to buy it on Ticketmaster for $500. Fine. Like we get top level stuff. But there's a lot of $20, $30, $50 tickets that are sold every day across the world. And that's how a lot of entertainment runs, is on a $20 ticket. So even if it's only $2 or $3 that's added to your liquidity, but it's just the tax that's going to be on the ticket, like it's going straight in. And then the metrical setup to begin that we can burn that to lower some circulating supply. But like in all honesty, we could change that at any point where we don't necessarily have to burn the tokens, but it'll always be injected of a few dollars into the liquidity pool. And I know we love the $10,000 buys. Like, oh man, somebody just came in with 5 BNB. Somebody just came in with 20 BNB. Like, yeah, it gets people hyped up. But we also know that that's just basically a ticking time bomb, because that one wallet is in essence going to be a liability at some point, especially if market, your liquidity pool and your market cap are out of sync, or if they're, you happen to just talk to them in Telegram and you said something bad about like not liking somebody, and then they're pissed off, and then they're like, well, we're going to dump on you. Like, this will literally be just a strategic, like I said, a million little additions to the volume that'll always go into the liquidity pool, because it's by default, they're not adding to our liquidity pool like our traders and our holders are. They're adding to the liquidity pool because they wanted to go see, like you had said about like Post Malone or a festival or a car museum or a water park. Wherever you go and use a QR code for a ticket right now can be utilized with this platform. So it's simple, but it's beautiful.
We have gone just over the hour now, and I try to keep these things relatively short, but I want to go around the room real quick and ask everybody an additional question. I'm going to actually start right here with REMATIC. If there's one thing in the space that you've experienced, or maybe you haven't experienced it, but you still want to see it change, can you give me an example or a situation that you would like to see done differently moving forward? And it doesn't have to be necessarily with your project, just anything that you've seen directly in the DeFi space.
I mean, I think it's fairly easy for me to talk to. I don't know if the anyone on the panel is aware, but I know a lot of our holders out there are aware. In January, we had a huge thing happen to us that could have affected our entire project and everything that we'd spent months on trying to create. We had a situation that was extremely unfortunate, and it could have sunk our project. So one of the things that I would like to see in this space is a cleanup on the ability for scammers to profit off of what they're doing. I think there's it's way too easy to scam people in this space, but unfortunately, because of the freedoms that this space offers, I think some of those are always going to be there. So from my perspective and from the community that I've created and our perspective of what we're trying to build is reduction and reducing the amount of scams that take place due to a better education of how the space works and how it operates. So it's in line with what we're doing with our educational program that I think we're on episode 12 or 13 now. It's about the information that we put out there to bring awareness and try to bring crypto to people that typically aren't in this space, that have never heard of it, to make them understand about how you should treat this space. I think that's the one thing that I see most that I'd like to potentially have an influence on and change about crypto and the way it's been over the last couple of years.
Interesting. Can I ask you an additional question to that?
Yeah.
What is your tactic for that outreach? You say you're trying to reach people that are not necessarily directly involved in crypto right now, maybe newcomers into the space. What do you guys do to try to facilitate that interaction?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And what that is going to entail is going to be the cornerstone of our marketing strategy and initiative. We brought on our CMO, Trisha Stone. She's absolutely amazing what she's doing and what she's built out so far. We have a very comprehensive marketing strategy and approach to targeting markets that are not typically traditionally crypto. Everyone in the crypto space understands crypto, but there's an entirely massive larger audience out there in the world that doesn't know what crypto is. They still don't know. I mean, I have family members that ask me what's a token. Like it's absolutely absurd. So there is a massive marketing campaign that we're putting together to go after that space. And so that's what we're working on in terms of that outreach program. And it's in line with everything that we've done in terms of our educational videos, the materials we put together, and the information about how we share it with anyone that's willing to watch it.
Interesting. I'm sure everybody here has gotten the question at least once, like, oh, so what is the project that you own? I just tell people I own Bitcoin, like family members and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, no, Bitcoin. Yeah, that's me. Like for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So the same question, I'm going to bring it down to Dan from DFS MAFIA. So just to repeat the question real quick. The question is there anything that you've experienced since you've been involved in the space, or that you've seen since you've been involved in the space, that you would like to see changed? It doesn't have to be anything directly related to your project, but just anything that you would like to see different?
I mean, honestly, I think it's the same thing that we've been talking about. Just unfortunately, crypto still has kind of a bad name and a bad rap, especially under the BSC chain, where there's constant rug pulls. People are losing their money. It's anytime anybody suggests investing into crypto, they have to have a little disclaimer saying it's a high risk investment. You could lose all your money type situation. I think that once we really get away from all these scams and rug pulls and things like that, and build more of a legitimacy for the space, you'll see more of that mass adoption. I still think it's going to happen regardless, and I think that just like you're saying, most people you ask them, what do you know about cryptocurrency? Bitcoin. Well, what's Bitcoin? Fake money or internet money? They don't know. We're so early in the crypto space that I think there's two main things we need to focus on is, obviously the educational purposes behind it, explaining what cryptocurrency is, and then just more of giving detailed knowledge. I see schools and colleges are starting to really do classes and focus on blockchain and crypto, which is great. I think it's it's obviously a way of the future, so they need to start teaching that. But the other thing that's really been important to us is transparency and just being open and honest with the community and with within crypto. We're KYC, we're doxed, we're audited. Just being open and transparent with everybody. Those type of projects are going to be better off than the ones that you don't know who's behind the token. They could pull the liquidity, people lose their money, they get discouraged. They might not get back into any other project or pull all their money out from all the other projects. So I really think it's just building awareness of crypto and blockchain in general, and then also just doing more, whether it be through KYC or authentications and things like that. I think just building the trust in the communities is really most important.
Very nice. I'm going to switch the question up a little bit. Kyle, Nobility, we've talked a lot about NFTs this evening, and you guys at Nobility have some of the coolest NFTs on the market, and I don't think we have once touched base on Nobility's NFTs. Can you tell me a little something about Nobility's NFTs, how they're different from your standard NFT?
Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff, but kind of like what Generation Crypto was saying before about the NFT marketplace and stuff like that. I think the NFT stuff, projects are using the NFTs as kind of like a use case, and they're really pushing those. We try not to push it too much. We do have our marketing team that's going to be coming out and doing their job with that, but we're not trying to make it a focus of our project. We want to stay focused on the esports side of it, and like our actual use cases, not the NFT side. But the NFTs for us are going to be pretty cool. So we're also coming out with an ETH token as well, and it's going to tie into the NFTs. But what makes it a little bit different is that we have knights. We're the Noble Knights. We have 4,444 of them. And what's cool is you can battle against each other. We're gonna have a battle mechanism that our developer is working on right now. It's very, very close to being done with it. There were a couple issues that we're fixing right now. But so if I wanted to battle my NFT and I wanted to battle EJ in his NFT, he could approve or reject it. You don't have to battle if you don't want to. But if you do win, it's just a 50-50 chance. There's no skill or anything involved, but if you win, you get upgraded to a level 2 knight, and the loser gets burnt forever. So I think it's one of the only deflationary collections out there. But if you get upgraded, so a level 1 knight gets 1% of ETH volume, a level 2 gets 4% of ETH volume. So that's the advantage of getting a level 2. A lot of people are buying 2 so that they can battle each other and automatically get a 4% reflection knight, but that's what makes us a little bit different.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be. Don't you have a mechanism that says if I have multiple knights held in my wallet, don't I get like an additional knight or something like that?
Oh no, so we also had an advisor on our NFT collection because I've never launched an NFT collection before, so we brought in someone that did. And we came out with a price like 0.4 ETH, which I understand right now is very high. I had no idea at the time what to do. And so we moved a different direction with them. They weren't advising us very well, apparently. And we listened to our community. They said, hey, these are not very accessible for the average, NFT collector. So we lowered our price to, way down. We cut it by like 75% and made it a lot more, accessible and cheaper. But for the people who bought it at 0.4 ETH, we gave people 2 additional nights to compensate for that price difference.
I actually just bought my first Noble Knight last week off the recommendation of somebody else because they were priced so well at the time. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Real quick, I'd like to ask Generation Crypto. You sat here and you've now listened to us all talk for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to ask you a 2-part question. First, rebuttal of the first one. Is there anything here that excites you a little bit more than one thing or the other? Or instead of excitement, if there's one thing here that was discussed on the stage that is concerning to you, maybe you don't understand how it works, maybe you don't see the longevity of that project, just very honestly, you can answer these questions. We're all here to just be open.
Yeah, I didn't really hear anything that was concerning, and I would be honest if I did. Like I said before, when I was talking about NFTs, I wasn't saying like anything to do with NFTs because I think NFTs have a really great utility and use case. There was talking before about like concerts, being able to use that for, you know, your ticket and then being able to use that for things afterwards. Having it as a non-perishable souvenir that you actually attended an event, I think is really cool. And there's a lot of real world use cases when it comes to NFTs. So it's not that, you know, you use an NFT that's bad. It was more of just everyone wants to make just an NFT marketplace where they're selling art. That's what I was kind of referring to before. And everyone seems to be doing that. And so if that's your primary utility, that's where it becomes an issue, is because everyone has that. So what makes you special amongst the crowd, right? So what I heard that excites me a lot today is that almost every single project on here had a ton of different things that they want to accomplish in different directions that were all unique in their own ways. So there was, you know, a connection between some different types of sports betting versus esports and other things that you guys want to do, but at least they're different enough that you shows that each one of these projects that we're talking about tonight has a specific utility and use case that they're working towards, and it's unique in some form or fashion. It's not just the same cookie cutter, I'm building a marketplace, or we're a reflections token and that's our main appeal, right? Like, great, you can reflect tokens, and that may be a reason people may start with you, but what's going to keep them around? What's going to want them to continue to hold your coin or your token? And hearing about the sports betting, the casinos, hearing about these awesome utilities with NFTs of them dueling and these other things to bring innovation and utility to the space, I think is what's going to keep people in the projects, rather than them coming on for the initial hype, the reflections, and then as second it starts to drop off at all, they're just going to go on to the next token that's shiny and, you know, provides basically the same utility as the last one. So it's good to hear there's innovation in the space and there's people trying to strive towards new directions that they want to achieve with their projects.
That's a fantastic answer. That's like a nice pro level answer. Like you sat here and like soaked in all the information and thought to yourself this whole time, hey, he's gonna ask me something like this and I'm gonna be ready for it. that was awesome, man.
Thank you.
So real quick, just because April is just so engaging and awesome, what is this glitch sports arena that she is asking about?
Yeah, that's for us. So my partner, David, he's one of the owners of FaZe Clan. He brought this opportunity to us, and it's a company called Glitch. We invested 6 figures into it. So we own equity in it. And what they're doing is they have cool partners too. They're partnered with Cisco, Monster Energy, Joe Montana, some other guys. It's pretty cool. But what they're doing is they're building out esports arenas across the country. Right now, they're scheduled for 32 of them. The first ones are going to be built in the 4th quarter of this year. And so they're going to be coming out with these brick and mortar esports arenas, as well as metaverse tournaments and like esports arenas as well, that we can hold esports tournaments and events and stuff in. But we're going to be the cryptocurrency pretty much of the whole ecosystem. So we made that investment so that we're able to get in there, and, you know, it provides another use case. And that's why I was telling EJ, there might be some potential there for him to come up with some tickets for these kind of things too. I think there might be a big opportunity there. So yeah.
I get caught up in like economy questions real quick. I think Atlas does too. So the way that'll work is, I'm guessing like y'all are equity holders. So you will get a split on all revenue share, and will you just cycle that back into like the Nobility ecosystem via tokens?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of distribution or something, whether it's quarterly, annually, whatever. But yeah, so our LLC, Nobility Esports, owns shares inside of Glitch. So whenever they have an equity distribution or some kind of liquidity event, we get a portion of that that's equal to the portion that we own. So if they do a distribution, then we'll get some of that, and then we can use that for operations, development, buybacks, whatever. So
well, and that's I was gonna say that's a really good point too. People forget that. Like I always try to remind communities, my own included, that sometimes some revenue driven items that are a part of the project, even though it goes directly to like operations or further development costs, that does return a investment to all those hodlers. Still, you are developing the actual project and the vision of the company itself. Therefore, in time, everybody wins there. So I don't mean that whenever I say that, like, oh, are you going to return it directly to tokens? I don't mean it like that. I was literally just curious on the economy setup of that. And it sounds like it's fairly fresh, so y'all will probably still like work that out in time.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you'd ask me the same question you asked the other guys, because I think that's one of the things I would change is I think more project owners and CEOs should treat their projects like actual businesses. Like we're, doing these mergers and acquisitions, we're treating it like a real business. And, that's the most efficient and quicker way to build a business is through mergers and acquisitions and hitting these new markets and a new audience and stuff like that. And I wish more people did that and treated it more legit than just a project.
All right, I'm going to go over here to EJ real quick one more time because I love you, EJ. So talking with all these guys here on stage this evening, do you see an opportunity for cooperation with any of these projects other than mine, of course?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think that there's opportunity for working with any legit project. Literally what Kyle just said, I said to you the other day, I was like, why don't we see more mergers and acquisitions in the crypto space? Because I feel like it should happen more often. So mindset, legitimacy for any of these projects opens up the opportunity because we're already in that small percentile. But no question with DFS Mafia and Nobility, based on the fact that like you guys already have a passion of mine with anything that's sports betting and actually sports entertainment and being at sporting events in general. So I'm pumped about being able to, it's already been like in the works in sense of like, you guys are already on our short list of like, these are projects we need to get to know, build rapport, see if there's an alliance. But it's really cool to be in this space because I've said this before that these spaces are nice for a lot of us because they're much more casual. It's not like you're getting drilled with, not that our community is glorious, to be honest. Like we don't really have a lot of like that hard driven FUD, but like it can be a little bit more intense when it's just yourself talking about your project, where this, I get to sit back and like Generation Crypto, hands down, like one of the best responses from a Chris question to date. Like that's just cool. And I love being able to hear other projects. I love hearing people that are passionate about what they do, but it's super encouraging and it almost ups the bar, right? Because now it's like, wow, you guys are doing this. Like you're doing mortgages. You guys are doing stuff with obviously the arenas that I knew about, but like it ups everybody's game because not only is it great that we're doing UniteDefi from the sense of like, hey, we're legitimate projects. We all are real businesses. We're all doing regulations. We're all doing licensing. We want to make sure that it's showing that we're a unified like group of projects that are doing it as legitimate as possible. But there's also that internal competition with all of us where it's just like, these guys are good. These guys are doing this. Like, shoot, man, I got to call BP. I need to make sure I get on the phone with the other board members. Like, guys, we have to implement this. We can do this because you get inspired. And that's really what I think you've created with this sense of UniteDefi is to really inspire other projects to be like, all right, our team, like these guys are good. We can do it too. Like we're going to up our game. We're going to want to be able to, compete at all levels, not for holders. That's the fun part about this. Like we're not trying to take each other's liquidity pool. We're trying to make each other better. And I get better every time I sit in one of these chats, or even when I just sit off screen and listen. So mad props to you, Meta Captain, that you do orchestrate these every week. I don't think people understand the amount of time it takes to get this many characters in a room week after week. So thank you for all the work you do on it.
Funny enough that you even mentioned that. This week's was the easiest to put together. Like every single person that's on screen right now was just like, yeah, let's do it. Like no questions asked. Like, hey, yeah, let's do it. After they check.
Sounds like you don't have enough to work on. More stuff.
But after they checked their DMs, of course, there were a couple of them that took forever to check their DMs. But once they did, they were like, "Oh yeah, man, I've seen these. I'm in for sure." So that was really cool. All right, Atlas, please tell me you got something prepared for me, man. What did you see on screen this evening that either excited you, filled you with some joy, something that you want to see actually happen and come to fruition? Or, even better, in my opinion, is there something that was discussed about this evening that gives you concern? You don't understand how it would work, or maybe see a problem with the plan one way or the other.
Well, good news for you, because I do have something of a concern, and I'm just curious as far as how that's going to evolve over time. And it has to do with the gambling elements, the betting, that sort of a field, right? So from my experience being involved in crypto, one of the biggest hit factors on price, especially of Bitcoin, is when people over leverage. They're doing these margin positions where they're borrowing money to be able to go in and do these things. And next thing you know, all of a sudden it starts dropping and a bunch of other people get hit. And crypto is one of those things where money can come really quick and easy and large amounts and then just go, right? So having not a lot of regulations, not a lot of safety nets sort of set in place, I'm curious with what you guys are building out, if you have taken in consideration adding certain elements, because, we're not dealing with fiat here. We're dealing with cryptocurrency that you could make inflationary, deflationary. You could add staking mechanics. You can have reward distributions for certain things. You do this, right? And then you get this as a reward for participating in that. If there's things that set in place there so that people are less likely to participate in your guys' gambling systems and not just lose absolutely everything in one single go, not only do I think that would cause a little bit more in the community space to feel comfortable with adoption of this, but also, of course, it's going to lead less people to be financially ruined. And so I'm just kind of curious if you guys have considered anything almost like when you play a free-to-play game, right? Or you go on some of these free mobile apps, and this is just an idea I'm pitching right now, you go and you watch an ad, and then that essentially will give you a reward for watching that ad. So if you went on and you're doing some gambling, you're doing some sports bets, have you guys considered anything natively there where people are like, oh, darn, I just lost some of my stuff? Well, if I go ahead and do these things, then I can go ahead and get some free tokens, which allows me to keep playing with it, and potentially I can make something out of it. Have you guys considered any kind of security systems to kind of help protect the people that are coming in?
Dan and El Jefe, do you guys want to? You guys have talked?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you, from our end of the spectrum, there's not a whole lot of concern when it comes to the fantasy sports side. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but like, I know on the sports betting end, I bet ridiculous money at times, and the problem is that it's really like a win-lose type of situation, at least for most type of sports bets. Where fantasy sports, it's harder to just like lose a ton of money in one shot. I mean, it's really, you put in a $10, you enter a contest for $10. You could, if you end up being one of the people who win, you could end up making, get $15 for the lowest level, or you can win thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not really a situation where there's a ton of contests where you can blow a ton of money and lose it all and create that situation. So we haven't really put into thought too much against that. I know sports betting, it might be a different story. Kyle can speak on that, but with fantasy sports, I mean, there's obviously going to be your degenerate gamblers that'll put in $1,000 in entries, put in 100 separate entries and hope that they win big. But there's only so much you can do with that. And that's why we're going to have certain parameters set up for DFSM contests so that it can't be, too like crazy where they can maybe only do 5 separate entries. And whereas the fiat, we're going to also have the separate option, and you can limit how many entries they do based on their user. So that's one thing that fantasy sports is able to do, is that you're not just wagering however much money you want on an outcome. Fantasy sports is you're just entering a contest based on the entrance fee, and we can limit how many entrances you do in a given day or given contest.
Can I pitch a wild idea for you?
Yeah.
What about the possibility of saying whatever balance you have when you enter the platform with your token, at most in a single bet you could do is 75%. Because even if you lost all 75%, you're still left with 25, right? And then the next bet you could do, you have a smaller budget you can work with, but the same factor comes into play. You can only do 75%. And then if anything was to be met below a certain threshold, you then are granted the option to be able to stake it and then progressively earn over time to where you now have more fluid income to be able to participate in all the things again. Just a wild idea.
It might be interesting.
But I was going to say that's something more. I think that would be super beneficial to sports betting. Like I said, on fantasy sports, we can really control how much they wager just based on the strict fact of we can have a $10 entrance fee contest with 1,000 possible entries, but one person may only be able to enter 1 time or 5 times. So we have full control over limiting how much a person can put into a contest or things like that. So I do like the idea though of, if they have 100 million tokens in their wallet, that they can only wager, they can only use X amount in a certain time frame. I mean, that's not a bad idea at all. I think sports betting would definitely be something to look at as well.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea. I didn't even think about anything like that before, but like you said, Atlas, if you do like 75%, you're only allowed to, like if you invest $1,000, you're only allowed to bet up to $750 at a time. $250 has to stay in your account, and if you lose it, then maybe you say like, oh, you have to stake it until you make back that initial amount back or something like that, and then you're able to bet again. I don't know if that would limit the operations on the sports, but I don't know.
The only problem I see with that too is that how can you stop somebody though from just they could take out their money or put more money in, like a person can use their bank account to deposit more money. It's you can't really control or know how much they physically have in their bank account to deposit on the site.
Yeah.
I think more than likely, it seems like something that you'll just have to navigate as you go with like those current industry, like industry people, like those people who are involved in those gambling scenes and stuff like that. I'm assuming they already have a fair amount of like data analytics to help you navigate that space. Because I'm sure there is like certain parameters that you could set in place just to help with like any regulatory bodies that would be looking at you, because that's really what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make sure that you're fitting like a good moral standard and a good regulatory standard in order to continue operations.
Yeah, I don't know if there is anything like that though, because I've been gambling on sports for a while, and no one's ever stopped me from betting.
I mean, honestly, I think the only thing you can do is more just informational purposes. Like you can have articles and, have the gambling addiction hotline type stuff. Like there's only so much you can really control. But I mean, if someone can come up with a creative idea that works to limit somebody from overspending on themselves, then that's not a bad idea.
Well, one of the things to keep in mind, right, is that when you're going in and betting on these things, you're not dealing with fiat again. Fiat has a fixed value. It's $1, it's $1. But when you're dealing with crypto projects, oftentimes you guys have fluctuating prices. And so when you're talking about supply and demand, which also can just dictate the individual price of that token outside of the use case, offering something of an incentive to where it says, hey, I know you could be betting on this right now, but because you're not doing so well, we're giving you this other option. You can go ahead and participate in this, like staking, for example. And that's not only going to help you increase your quantity, but also that's going to take some off of the supply side and essentially help rise the price overall. So just a fun idea.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you caught that, but that is something that we're building into our fantasy sports platform is a staking option right on the platform. So
hey, James, is it 4 a.m. where you're at?
It's close to it. It's like 3:30 a.m. I mean, this has been the last 2 days for me, so it's fine. Don't worry.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this right now. Somebody said you're a machine. You are a machine, man.
It was just funny because I didn't have a link to the chat. So it was like, I went to bed at 11 p.m. after we had a chat with Michael. I was like, I'm going to try and get a cheeky 1.5 hour nap. And then it came to about 10 to 2. And I was like, I've got this event in 10 minutes. And that's why I probably look as bad as I do. When I walked in, I was like, I'm okay, guys. I could do this. But no, it's been fine. It's all right.
I think that's actually a real good point, just so everybody knows, not just like us project people, but even these influencers, just being involved in this space, the public should realize that this space moves, and like all of us, I think, all have careers before this. We all have been a part of something. And I thought my past life was kind of fast-paced. No. Crypto and the crypto scene in general is nonstop 24/7, the fastest moving thing that you'll ever be a part of. And everybody here who's on screen is a warrior. They are fighting through stuff every single day, coming at them all day, every day. So I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to do a quick, let's go around the room and everybody kind of do a last minute shout out, say your final thoughts. This has been a little bit over an hour and a half now. I try to keep these things as short as possible. I know it's hard when we have so many different projects on, but I think it's just best for analytics and for all of our health. So REMATIC CEO, I want to start off with you.
All right. Yeah. So some final thoughts. There's a couple of things mentioned about, how much time we put in and how much work's been done. But, yeah, I stayed up late. Yeah, I did a lot of work, but I wouldn't have been able to do that without the team that we have. To the moderators, to the core team, to everybody that's on the team of REMATIC. Without them constantly engaging with the community, letting them know what's going on, keeping them aware of what they're doing, doesn't give me the flexibility to take the time that I need to do what needs to be done to get everything all situated. So, as a last sort of shout out, it's a shout out to the entire REMATIC crew. I mean, can say a better word than that, but without their support, without the work that they put in, it wasn't possible. So big shout out to them.
I do plan on linking it in the description here in a minute, but what is your website? What is the actual website name for REMATIC?
REMATICEGC.com.
REMATICEGC.com.
Yep.
All right. Generation Crypto, final thought?
I just want to say thank you for having me on the table today. I really appreciated getting to know some of the developers for all these amazing projects on screen. Some of them I've talked about on my channel in the past. Some of them I've never heard of. So being able to sit down and listen to them talk passionately about their projects was a blessing for me. So I just want to say thank you for having me on the panel tonight.
Absolutely. And if people want to follow you and find your channel, how do they do so?
Yeah, so if it's on YouTube, it's just Generation Crypto. I'll be the first thing that pops up there. And then Twitter, it's Gen Crypto YT. You can find me on Twitter there. That's where the two places I'm probably most active. And then another cool thing, not to shield, but we have a Discord server with Atlas, myself, several other project developers, MetaCaptain, you're on there as well. All of you guys that are developers are on here, are all welcome on that Discord server as well. The link to that is on my YouTube channel. And if you want, I can send that to you afterwards if we want to get that spread around. So.
And honestly, guys, all of you should join that server. EJ, I don't know how you aren't in that server already, but that is the decentralized financial freedom.
Yep, there you go.
Right? Yes, decentralized financial freedom server. A bunch of YouTubers are there. A bunch of projects are there. We got I can't even name them all, but a lot. Come check us out.
Are you guys able to put the link in the private chat or something for us?
Yeah, I'll throw it in there. Or somebody will throw it in there. But Kyle, actually, let's go with you next. Let's give your final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on here. It was awesome meeting all of you. I talked to Dan a little bit and his partner on AMA that we've done, but the rest of you I've never met before. So it was a pleasure meeting all of you guys and just talking crypto and all this cool stuff. I mean, I would love to do one of these every single night if we could.
Yeah, wild man. Every single night. EJ, final thought.
Yeah, same thing. It's just I'm humbled to be here. It's a big thank you to Chris, obviously, but like all you guys for what you're doing. I mean, I said it before, it's encouraging, but like keep up the good work and just thank you for what you're doing for your communities and what you're doing for, I guess, cryptocurrency and blockchain and utility tokens in general, because it's these building rapport with you guys is amazing to me and I appreciate it greatly. But what you're doing for like the rest of these hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of people, it's amazing. So I'm humbled by it and thank you. And then also I had to tell April that Brody says good night.
Dude, I think we all love Brody. All right, Dan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I just also want to say thank you for having us. And I think these spaces are awesome. I mean, it shows how far crypto has come from, instead of projects trying to bash each other and compete against each other, it's more of you're going back to the unified DeFi, but it's funny. I've had a couple of our investors reaching out to me while I was on this call and talking about just prospective partnerships. Like obviously there's been talks about us and Nobility and doing some kind of collaboration, but the metaverse idea came up. Chris actually sent you a message because that went right hand in hand with something that I've been planning. So it's just cool that we have these opportunities to work together. You get to learn about everybody else's projects instead of worrying about competing against each other. You're trying to build each other up. So I think that's really cool.
Oh no, and like legitimately, no lie, last week, as soon as we left the roundtable, 2 of the projects that were on here immediately started working together. Revenue started getting traded. Both of those projects, holders, will be rewarded long term because of that facilitation. And it's not the first time. I think in some way, shape, or form, I've worked with every project that I've had on so far. Even right now, whether or not everybody on this screen is aware of it, I've worked with Nobility devs numerous times. I currently do. I currently have contracts and deals with numerous Nobility team members on different projects and different stuff, not directly with Nobility yet. I'm sure that'll come though in time. As well as working behind the scenes with a couple other guys that are here on the screen. That's just how this space works. It's a lot smaller than a lot of people think it is. Behind the scenes, once you get down to the actual development stuff, there's not a whole lot of us that really do the kind of stuff that we really do. So it's interesting once you really get a deep dive into it and everybody figures out who everybody is. El Jefe, I'm so sorry if I keep saying that wrong. El Jefe,
No,
what
you're
is
saying
your
it right.
thought?
No, it's again refreshing, echoing Dan and echoing pretty much everyone saying EJ, Kyle, Generation Crypto, and CO REMATIC. It's refreshing. Every time we have this type of space, we all come away with a little bit of something. And again, like Dan was saying, unified DeFi is big. Our second, just to something that Kyle had even mentioned, and I don't know if he's aware, our second AMA that we ever did was it was hosted by his community and his space with Nobility. So with that was, we were already heading in that unified DeFi, before we even, touched ground and did, anything. I think we were 3 weeks old or something like that. So it's a breath of fresh air, to be able to do it. There's, again, sharing common knowledge and growth is going to be key. We're all so very early, and it's a great thing, when projects can come together, and like the mergers and acquisitions. And I mean, think about the biggest companies in the world. They had gotten to the level that they're at through mergers and acquisitions. So we're that early and already thinking that far ahead. You could only imagine what a year or 2 years and 3 years is going to bring. So I'm excited. I love business as it is, and business minded individuals that are passionate about what they do. And it shows. It exuberates from everyone on this screen, and it feeds right to our communities. So thank you for hosting this space. It's exciting times ahead for all of us.
All right. So if we wanted to find your guys' website, where do we go?
Our site is dfs-mafia.com.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Sorry, James, final thoughts.
Yeah. So it's a little too little for everything, really. So, like, the fact that everyone here kind of has their own, premise, their own understanding of what they want in this crypto space, that what their, token provides them as in a business or a company, it shows through. So, for example, like, everyone here, they might have, like, for example, there's sports betting, and then there's like fantasy sports betting. There's similarities, but they had the conceptual understanding to be spread out completely differently. Like when crypto was asking about, kind of the security side of it, and people, losing the money, him has given those individuals here, Kyle, Dan, for example, these new ideas of how they can, provide a protection or a layer of security to their actual, holders or the people investing in the platform, so that it's not the same as it would be, just in a normal space. But then, like yourself, when you was talking about the metaverse lounges and stuff, it was something I always say to Ray if he's still in the chat, because I know he was commenting a little bit. I'm always like, for the podcast, because he hosts our REMATIC, which is the podcast for crypto, I'm always like, you should get a virtual space in, like, Decentraland or metaverse, where people can actually view it and see, your avatar, for example. So that firstly came into my thought when you said it. But then I'm glad that I had my question answered by, EverReflect regarding NFTs, because to me, it's very, very new, this concept of providing more to an NFT than what people see it as someone said about it being art. Like, you can provide so much more to it, and it's nice to see that people are understanding that and actually taking advantage and providing it to people, and allowing access to the DeFi world, really, to people who aren't here, to the only 1 million people, 2 million people who might know of NFTs, for example. It provides like extra love and attention from the artists to the people who are holding these NFTs, who are supporting them. So, and then with the actual influencers here, they've been asking and saying beautiful questions in regards to doing like ways of security, or how you could utilize this stuff, and like understanding that everyone here is here to defend the holders, not steal it from each other, but provide insight and care to everyone else. So it's really nice. I appreciate the call, and I really do enjoy that I woke up and didn't sleep through the alarm.
And I love having the influencers here again, just because the way that they approach it is so much more in line with like what an actual investor might approach it versus us, because we are those project insiders. So the way that we are constantly thinking about things is from the flight deck. So these guys are their focus is just solely strongly on, hey, is that a good idea? Would I invest in this? Would somebody else invest in this? And even more acutely, because they are trying to cover different cryptos and trying to educate communities, they are actually doing a little bit more of a deep dive thought process behind whether or not it even makes sense, just on like a basic level, on whether or not that's something you even would participate in. So it's great to get their feedback, and that's why I have them on here every single time. Atlas, what are your final thoughts?
I'd like to thank the Academy I'd like to thank Mickey Mouse Club, my mom, my dad, God, anime. Because if I got God and anime on my side, no one's going to stop me, man. If you guys want to check out my channel for more coverage on cryptocurrency, you can check me out on YouTube at Crypto Atlas, or you can check me out on Twitter at Crypto Atlas YT. If you go to the comedy club, I'm not going to be there, but you can always tune in my videos. So thank you guys very much. Chris, thank you for having me as well.
You know, I could see you doing comedy. Just saying, I could see you totally doing some stand-up.
I'd get tired pretty quick. I'd have to have a stool nearby me. You know, I gotta sit down.
All right, guys. Thank you all very, very much for joining us. For everybody listening this evening, I really appreciate you spending the time to hear us all out. These conversations are great. I'm going to keep them going. The next one will be in 2 weeks. I'll be off next week. I've got some other stuff going on. But definitely stay tuned. We've got some exciting people coming on. And we're going to have updates for everybody that's on now. They're all going to be invited back on the same way that we have in the past. So you'll see all these faces again, and we'll have another one of these discussions. Again, thank you all for joining us. Have a good evening.
James wants to know if we could do it at a different time next time.
But without anything to hold your assets, this space is nothing. So like it's, you know, it's a space that needs to be revolutionized and changed and upgraded upon and everything. And look, like we're competitors, I guess, technically competitors to like MetaMask and Trust, right? But some sort of working in conjunction, right, to better everything is where we want to go. You know, we're not looking to be at other projects' throats. You know, we're again, like we're looking to unify and improve the space. You know, that's kind of where we want to go and what we want to do.
Cool. Where can people go to learn more about you guys? You want to send them to a website? Where do you want to send them?
Divewallet.net. That's our website. It's kind of the home base. It has links to everywhere: Discord, Telegram, Twitter. And those are kind of our big three socials, right? Discord and Telegram and Twitter. Discord and Telegram especially. You know, there are a lot of active people in both. So.
Yep. All right, cool. Guys, any parting comments? Anything we missed that you really wanted to say that I didn't bring up?
No, I just want to thank you for having us here and doing this. And, you know, it's great. It was you know, awesome talking to you and awesome having everybody here.
I appreciate that.
Visit Telegram and play some of Jake's games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We've been hosting other coins to come in, and they've been giving prizes in their own tokens for these games in our Telegram channel. That's where we're trying to go with like the whole configuration of everything coming together. So come check out some games. It's fun. Win some prizes.
Very cool.
I've been working very hard with other communities, and the CEOs or main devs from other projects. We've got 2 so far that have jumped in on it with us. And what I really, me personally, because I'm so new to crypto, I didn't want to get ripped off. I didn't want to get taken for a ride. So I kind of, you know, I put myself out there, but, you know, the more I find that people want to come together as a positive force, it's really humbling. You know, it's like people seek us out now because they know what kind of community we've got. You know, they want to come and hang out, have some fun, and know that it's a safe place to be, you know, and not really worry so much about, you know, scams or anything like that. And I love that the community already stands up for each other in that way. And we haven't had any negativity. And working with these other communities has been fun, where like Jeremy was saying, we do a game night maybe twice a week or so far, and get native tokens from these other guys. And, you know, I just pay them out in the form of whatever they think is comfortable. And it's fun to link their Telegram in ours and say, go show them some love, you know. And somebody also told me, aren't you worried about losing your core community to these other coins? And I said, click on any one of them and you're going to see you share 3 to 10 different reflection tokens, right? So the truth of the matter is we already share a community.